Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want. But here's the thing, real freedom isn't about circumstances. It isn't about getting the perfect job, the perfect partner, or the perfect schedule. I define freedom as the capacity to choose my state regardless of circumstance. And the way you build that kind of freedom is through structure. Today, I want to explore why structure isn't the enemy of freedom. It's actually the training ground for it. Because the more you practice choosing your state, the less you're at the mercy of distractions, emotional swings, or outside noise. And I want to show you how this plays out in real life using some data you'll see on the screen. Most people chase freedom as if it's external. They think if I can just change my job or my partner or my circumstances, then I'll feel how I want to feel. But that's not freedom, that's dependency. If your emotional state depends on circumstance, then you're not free. You're captive to whatever happens around you. Think about it. If your peace depends on everything going smoothly, then the second something goes wrong, an email, a traffic jam, a text you didn't want to see, you lose it. That's not freedom, that's volatility. Freedom isn't about what happens outside. Freedom is about what you can generate inside. That's why I say freedom is the capacity to choose your state, regardless of circumstance. Now, here's the part people resist. We love the idea of freedom, but when we hear structure, most of us think of rules, restriction, or losing choice. But structure doesn't limit freedom, it creates it. Think about training in the gym. If you want strength, you need repetition. If you want endurance, you need consistency. It's no different with emotional states. Structure provides the consistent practice that strengthens your ability to respond with intention instead of reaction. No structure? Then your system just defaults to whatever pattern it's most familiar with. And for most people, that pattern is distraction, avoidance, or reactivity. Now, let me show you something. Look at this. The youngest group, ages 16 to 39, has seen a sharp drop over the last decade in the ability to make plans and follow through. Older groups stayed more stable, but the youngest, steep decline. Why? Because digital life trains distraction, endless options, constant novelty. Without structure, we drift. And when we drift, commitment weakens. Here's the sequence that runs our lives. You notice something. That noticing triggers a feeling. That feeling fuels a thought. And that thought drives your next action. That chain is always firing. The question is, are you letting circumstance dictate it, or are you training it deliberately? When you don't train it, distraction trains you. Stress trains you. Frustration trains you, and what you repeat, you reinforce. So if you keep reacting, you're actually training reactivity. Look here, perseverance, the ability to stay with something until it's done, has dropped especially for younger groups. This isn't a moral judgment, it's data, and it shows what happens when the nervous system gets conditioned by constant interruption. If you're always pulled into novelty or notifications, the state you're training is fragmentation. And fragmentation makes perseverance almost impossible. Let me give you some real-world patterns I see all the time. Work scenario. Someone opens their laptop intending to work on a project. Within minutes, a notification pops up. They check it, then another. They bounce between tabs. After an hour, they've been busy, but nothing meaningful is finished. That's not a productivity issue, that's a state training issue. They're training distraction. Relationship scenario. Someone comes home after work. Their partner asks a simple question, but because they've been training irritation all day at the office, the smallest comment triggers defensiveness. That's not just who they are, that's the result of practicing frustration until it became the automatic state. Health scenario. Someone sets a goal to get fit. They commit to working out 3 days a week, but the first week they skip 1 session, then 2, then stop altogether. It's not about laziness. It's that they've trained inconsistency, and inconsistency compounds. Do you see how all of these are the same pattern? What you notice, the emotion that follows, the thought it generates, the action it produces, that chain is either running by accident or being trained by design. So how do you train freedom? Not by waiting for calm circumstances, not by hoping your mood magically shifts. You train freedom by building structure into your daily life. That structure might look like a set time to practice directing your emotional state, a reset pattern when you feel pulled off course, a daily repetition of choosing the state that lines up with the person you're committed to becoming. The structure itself is simple. The repetition is what makes it powerful. Every time you redirect from distraction back to focus, you're laying down new wiring in your nervous system. Over time, that wiring becomes your baseline. That's freedom. Here's another one. Distraction has risen sharply, especially for younger groups. But notice, older groups haven't spiked nearly as much. Why? Because many older adults grew up with more built-in structure, fewer digital interruptions, more commitments that demanded follow-through. That doesn't mean younger people are stuck. It means the nervous system adapts to what it practices. If distraction is the practice, distraction becomes the state. If structure is the practice, intentional choice becomes the state. So let's bring this home. Structure strengthens your ability to respond instead of react. That doesn't mean you never feel stress, anger, or overwhelm. It means you don't let those states run you. For example, let's say someone I've worked with comes home from a stressful job. They've trained the pattern of reacting with frustration. They don't notice the chain of see it, feel it, think it, act on it as it fires. But with structure, that same person can train to catch it earlier. This email feels overwhelming. And instead of letting frustration run the show, they redirect it into calm focus. That's not luck. That's not personality. That's training. And that's what structure makes possible. Carelessness is another pattern that's increased, especially among younger groups. Again, this isn't about labeling anyone. It's about seeing clearly when distraction and inconsistency are trained, carelessness follows. But with structure, care is trained, follow-through is trained, presence is trained. And presence is what allows you to live aligned with who you want to be. If you're hearing this and thinking, this sounds like me, you're not broken, you've just been training a pattern that no longer serves, and that can change. The nervous system learns through repetition, which means the same way you train distraction, you can train steadiness. The same way you train reactivity, you can train intentional choice, and that's freedom. So here are 2 questions I'll leave with you today. What emotional state are you practicing over and over without even realizing it? And second, is that state aligned with the person you're committed to becoming? Because if it's not, then every day you wait is another day reinforcing what you don't want. The good news, you can start retraining right now. If you're ready to stop managing symptoms and start training a steady, resilient inner state, I've built a system for that. It integrates how you see, how you feel, and how your nervous system responds. So you don't just understand your patterns, you actually shift them. The link's below. I also share practices weekly on Instagram at Mike Wang Coaching. And if you want more depth, you can join the newsletter below. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next video.